Hello guys and welcome back to another video. So if you read my community post, you know why there wasn't a video last week. If you didn't, let me tell you why. Basically, I was super busy last week and I was not able to listen to albums and focus on them. Also, during this I realized that I did need that 1 week break as I was listening to too much music. This week I was actually, what's it called, super excited to listen to albums. No, I didn't listen to any new releases of last week, so they will either be in this video reviewed or they will be in the honorable mentions. For those of you who don't know how this series works, I like to listen to a lot of albums. I pick a few that I like throughout the week and I review them. This may be new albums or it may be old albums. Just know though that my opinion is solely mine, as music is a very subjective thing to have an opinion about. Before we go into the video, I want to say thanks to Dubby for being a partner of this channel, and let's hop into the first album review. The first album of this video will be Metro Boomin's new album called A Futuristic Summer. This was a good album and definitely another reason to prove why Metro should be considered one of the best producers in hip-hop at the current moment. The song that stood out to me the most was Butterflies, also called Right Now. A great song, great features, and this was honestly a great project by Metro. I am a little annoyed that it was held back a week. Would I say it was worth it? Not in my opinion. I'm not saying the album was bad, but I'm also saying that he should have just released it last week. Cause I don't know, I haven't seen anything online saying that he added a couple songs or something for the album, but maybe he did say something and I just missed it. But yeah, this was a great album and you've probably already listened to it, and if you haven't, go give it a listen. Next is Drake's Nothing Was the Same. This album is for sure a Drake classic. It's a nice calm down album. All the features felt perfect and not a single of them felt forced or out of place. I wouldn't say it's a favorite album of mine from Drake that I've heard so far, but it's up there for Drake albums for sure. Also, this is his third studio album, so it is amazing how well it's held up from all the way back then in 2013 to now. I'd recommend you take some time and sit down and listen to this album, especially if you've had a long day of work. It's just like this nice calm down album to nice stressful day at work. You come home, you put this on, and you relax. That's if you like Drake. Next is If You're Reading This, It's Too Late by Drake. This album was good, except I feel like the Little Wayne feature sounded a bit weak. Of course, this album is on the older side, so that could explain why. Also talking about features, the Party Next Door features were amazing and felt perfect. Of course, this makes sense as they are both under OVO Sound label production. OVO Sound label. That's all I should have said. Obviously, I don't know if OVO Sound existed at the time of this album's release, but obviously now here in 2025, we know that both Drake and Party Next Door are part of OVO Sound. The songs that stood out to me the most were Know Yourself, Preach featuring Party Next Door, and Six Man. I do think this definitely is a Drake Foundation album. I don't know how to explain that, like Foundation. How do I explain Foundation? Fundamental, a Drake Fundamental album. No, but that also doesn't make sense. Uh, If you want to get into Drake, this is one of the albums you should 100% listen to. There, I'll say that. Because this is an album I feel like everyone should listen to at least once in their life. Of course, this does only apply if you do like Drake, or if you can deal with his music. Because I do know someone who hates Drake, who doesn't like any of his songs. So obviously, if you fall into that category, you're not gonna like this album because it is your typical Drake album. But if you're okay with Drake, you like Drake, you should definitely give this album a listen. Next is Israeli Salad. I think I said first letter Israeli. I don't know how to pronounce it. Israeli Salad by The Alchemist. I'm gonna be honest. At first, I wasn't gonna do a review, but after giving it a thought, I do. First things first, this is just an instrumental album, so no lyrics at all. The beats were all amazing, of course, since it is an Alchemist album, Alchemist produced album. It is also felt like an experience, as the beats low-key sounded like a story, if that makes sense or anything. No songs really stood out to me, but this album definitely did feel like an interesting experience. Cause even though there weren't any lyrics, there were like people talking in the background, if that makes sense, and like they were doing somewhat of a story. Of course, I don't know how to fully explain this unless you give it a spin. This album, if I do remember, was like 35 minutes. It was on the shorter side, as whenever the Alchemist does do just instrumental only albums, they're always like 30 minutes or less, right? Don't quote me, but I do know it is on the shorter side of albums. So if you want to understand what I'm trying to say, go listen to it so you can have a better understanding of what I'm trying to say. It was a good album. Obviously, it's made by The Alchemist. It's going to be produced amazingly. Next is What a Time to Be Alive by Drake and Future. This was a greatly produced album, and I was not expecting Metro to be on some of these beats. The songs that stood out to me the most were Diamonds, Dancing, and Change Locations. And low-key, Change Locations, both Future and Drake had a great flow on the song. The only baddish song, if you could even say it's bad, on this album was Plastic Bag due to how repetitive some of the lyrics were. Aside of that, this album was a great listen, a great collaboration by both Drake and Future. Obviously, Metro, we've already talked about him earlier in this video. He is great at producing beats. I had no idea he was on any of these I had no idea he was on any of these songs because he wasn't credited. It was only Drake, Future, and there's a couple features, but I can't remember them off the top of my head. So when I did hear the Metro, or if Metro don't trust you, then I don't trust you, right? And then the other one, obviously that caught me off guard, and that got me more hyped to listen to the album. Obviously, the album was great. It was a typical Drake album, so did go an hour and a couple minutes. That's the only bad thing I've had with listening to Drake albums so far, but we'll get to that later in the video. Next is okay. What I meant to say is I read the wrong part. What I meant to say is next is Views, also by Drake. In my opinion, this album was carried a lot by the second half. It had good beats, but this definitely was not my favorite Drake album so far. It's definitely on the bottom of Drake albums in my opinion, and definitely was not worth me staying up till 3:30 in the morning listening to this album. The songs that stood out to me the most were obviously the more popular ones out from this album. One Dance featuring Wizkid and Kyla, Too Good featuring Rihanna, and a Drake classic that everyone knows, whether you like Drake or not, Hotline Bling. And in my opinion, I don't think this album was worth my time. If I knew that I was gonna have to depend a lot more on the second half portion of this album, I probably wouldn't have stayed up till 3:30 in the morning. But this is something we're gonna talk about more near the end of the video, like I said. Next is God Does Like Ugly by Jid. This album was greatly produced and most of the flows went super well with all the beats that they were paired with. This is one of the best albums released so far this month, August 2025. The standout songs to me were VCRs and SK8 or Skates, I think that's what I'm trying to say. And my personal favorite from this project has to be No Boo. I'd say if you haven't listened to this album, you definitely should. This was more of the hyped up albums for the second lighter portion of the year. And believe it or not, that is the last album I'm reviewing for this video. So now, let me yap for a little bit. So what happened? So there is something new that I'm doing when I review albums. So I write down the entire album in paper, like all the song names. Then I need to write one thing about the album, right? Not the album, but the song that I just listened to. It's either good beat, good flow, good production, good feature, good lyrics, yada yada yada, right? Which obviously incline means that I spend more time preparing to listen to an album. And you know what? That's fine, right? It allows me to go into more depth so I get more reviews, right? But a problem I'm running into is right now I'm focusing on Drake because I'm focusing on artists who I think will definitely drop an album, and at the time of recording this, August 2025, it is very likely that there will be a Drake album released by the end of 2025. And I still need, I think, 6 or 5 more Drake albums. The problem I'm running into is that his albums are so long. So even though I've listened to so much music, it's nothing because all of his albums are so long. And then something else I'm also running into is that the whole hype period of albums is starting to slow down. So obviously last month that shit was crazy. Last 2 months we had what Let God Sort 'Em Out by Pusha T, Malice, and Oh my god, I'm forgetting someone. Jack Boys 2 by Jack Boys and Travis Scott. We obviously had the Metro album. We had the Surprise Tyler the Creator album. We had the Jit album just recently released. Right, there's so many good albums released the last couple of months. Now, that's starting to slow down a lot. Of course, this past Friday there were a couple albums released, but they're not by artists that I've currently listened to or albums that I'm interested in listening. Maybe I'll get to them at some point in the future, but at the moment, they weren't my priority. Right? They're not artists that I see myself listening to. But yeah, like especially with Drake right now, the biggest problem running into is that his albums take forever. Like, then another problem with Drake albums is they are so hit or miss, and I will figure that out for myself immediately. Right? Like for myself with Drake albums, with how much time I've spent. Like for this month, I wouldn't be surprised if Drake was my top artist of the month with how much I spent. For the past 2 weeks, he was my artist of the week. Either he was my number one or number two artist of the week, which is fine, whatever. But I really hope he does end up being an artist of the month for me. But yeah, with how much I've listened to him, I've come to understand his albums. So it's like the first 3 songs, I've either figured out, oh, I'm going to be locked into this, or oh, I'm not going to be locked into this. Right? So obviously, if it's an album I know I'm going to enjoy, there's no problem. That hour, 2 hours, that's just gonna fly by, right? That's fine. If I'm enjoying an album, I don't care how long it is. But if it's an album I don't really like, an album I don't really enjoy, I am going to be so bored and I'm going to feel like it's taking forever. And another problem running into with Drake is, right here, let me give you the honorable mentions, right? Because I forgot to write that down in the script. That's on me. Luckily, I remembered. Here are the honorable mentions. I only listened to what 4 albums I listened to that I did not review. First off is More Life by Drake, Metal Force by Baby Metal. This was an album that released recently. I should have added it in the video, but problem is, obviously, they're a Japanese band. I don't speak Japanese. Oh no, they're either Japanese or Korean. Baby Metal, they're either Japanese or Korean. They're one of the two. I obviously don't speak either, right? So I can't really give a full review. I can't just be like, yeah, the beats were good every single time, even though that is what I do with most artists now, right? But I just feel like it's unfair for me to do that. But yeah, Metal Force by Baby Metal, Scorpion by Drake, and I can't say this word because it's a slur. It's the R slur. Right, Arcelor Alligator Beats by The Alchemist. This was once again another instrumental album by The Alchemist. This one didn't feel like an experience as the first one. Well, it did. It had the same type of thing where like it was instrumental. There weren't any lyrics, right? But there were people talking in the background that like held up a story-ish, right? So if you wanna go listen to that, that's another album you can take. That one was just 20 minutes long. So if you have 20 minutes and you just want to listen to pure beats, boom, right there. But yeah, so the problem is, right, I know many of these future Drake albums that I'm about to listen to because I've obviously seen the criticism over the years online, right? And the only positive one is for, at least the only positive one that I know of is For All the Dogs, right? And if that's the only positive one, is that the only good one that a majority of people like, then I am screwed. Because what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 6 Drake albums left. Technically 7 because of Some Sexy Songs for You. But I already listened to it when I had that 2 weeks where I focused on Party Next Door. But yeah. So yeah, that's why this week's episode was a lot shorter. If I knew it's going to be a lot this short, I would have forced myself to record something last week. But obviously, I wasn't going to be able to till the future. But yeah, I know. But yeah, this week was a lot shorter. Hopefully, in the future, some more artists with bigger names, right, that I enjoy, that I listen to, start dropping more albums. So then I have more of a reason to listen to more albums, to review more albums, right? Especially if they're artists that I know, that I really like, that I already hate, because then I can be like, oh, this is why I hate them. Oh, this is why I like them. That didn't happen this week. Like I said, only 2 artists released this week that I completely listened to. Damn, the recording was 1 hour long for a 15-minute video. But yeah, that's going to be it. So yeah, and that will be it for this week's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching until the very end. Remember, all of these opinions are mine and mine only, so don't take anything I said too serious. And once again, thank you to W for being a partner of the channel. If you do decide to check them out, there should be a link in the description. And make sure to use my code TrainDavid when buying anything to support me and the channel out. Also, there's my Twitch channel. Go check out my Twitch channel. I'm live there pretty much every day, and of course it's under the same username as you can find me anywhere, TrainDavid. Till then, till I see you in the next one, go ahead and hit the running man for me.